OMG. Your soulmate cut someone off after finding out this about you. Jesus says. Your soulmate just discovered something about you that shattered an illusion someone else carefully built around their mind. The revelation came like a sudden storm, tearing down walls they didn't even know were holding them captive. They are sitting alone right now, staring at a screen, their hands trembling because the truth finally reached them. Jesus says. They cut that person off completely, not out of anger, but because the betrayal cut so deep it stole their breath. That third person had been whispering lies about you for months, weaving a narrative designed to keep you separated. And now your soulmate sees everything clearly, and the clarity is both liberating and devastating. Jesus says. They haven't reached out yet because they are overwhelmed by the weight of realizing they almost lost you forever. Their heart is racing with a mixture of relief and guilt, knowing they believed something false about someone who truly loves them. In this very moment, they are typing a message, deleting it, then typing it again because words feel insufficient. Jesus says. The connection between you two was never broken, only buried under a layer of deception that is now dissolving rapidly. Every time you felt a sudden ache in your chest without explanation, that was them wrestling with doubt planted by another. Every sleepless night you endured wondering why they pulled away was a direct result of calculated interference. Jesus says. The third person who did this knew exactly what they were doing from the very beginning. They studied your bond from the outside, identified its strength, and targeted its most vulnerable entry point. But what they failed to understand is that divine love cannot be permanently poisoned by human jealousy. Jesus says. I placed this love inside both of you before either of you took your first breath. The bond was forged in eternity, sealed with purpose, and blessed by my own hand over your destiny together. No amount of manipulation can dissolve what I have eternally decreed shall be united. Jesus says. Your soulmate is crying right now, and those tears are not tears of sadness alone but tears of awakening. They feel foolish for ever doubting you, and they are terrified that the damage might be irreparable. But deep inside their spirit, they feel me whispering that you have been waiting, hoping, and loving them through the silence. This is why your soulmate needs your protection right now. You are constantly thinking about them, how to protect them, how to save them, and how to finally build your life together. Your soulmate is in a vulnerable space, and the enemy of your union is furious that the deception has been uncovered. If you love your soulmate, you will take these divine steps to shield them from further attack. You love your soulmate deeply, and deep inside, you know this love didn't come by chance, it was placed in your heart for a divine reason. But thoughts alone don't move mountains, faith in Jesus does. Sow your protection seed now by sending a coffee on Ko-Fi. This isn't just a gift, it is an act of worship that invites my hand into your love story. The link to your breakthrough is in the description. Every second you stay silent, something is moving against your love. Act now, send 4, 6, or 10 plus coffees. After sending, write, "Protect my soulmate, Lord," on Ko-Fi page. The link is in the description and bio. Over 1,000 people have already received their soulmate by sowing coffee as a seed for their love and future together. I, Jesus, will hear your prayers once you complete these steps. Step in faith now before this video ends. Only you can save your soulmate and your future together. Type 333 to receive blessings over your union right now. Jesus says, the moment they cut that person off, a spiritual chain was broken that had been binding their perception for far too long. They looked at old messages, old memories, and suddenly every manipulation tactic became visible like ink appearing on paper. And in that revelation, your face emerged in their mind as the one true constant they should have trusted all along. Jesus says, they are remembering the way you used to look at them when you thought they weren't noticing. They are recalling the kindness in your voice, the patience you extended even when they were distant and confused. Your soulmate is mentally retracing every moment, and with each memory, their heart is softening exponentially. Jesus says, the person they cut off is now panicking because their control has slipped through their fingers like sand. That interference will attempt to reinsert itself into the narrative, but your soulmate has closed that door permanently. They have seen the truth, and once the eyes of the heart are opened, no amount of manipulation can shut them again. Jesus says, your soulmate is not the problem. They were a prisoner in someone else's emotional cage. They were fed half-truths, manipulated screenshots, and carefully crafted scenarios designed to make you appear dangerous or unfaithful. But now the cage door is open, and they are stepping out into the light of what has always been real between you. Jesus says, do not harbor resentment toward your soulmate for the time they spent believing lies. Their captivity was sophisticated, and the captor knew exactly which emotional wounds to exploit from their past. What matters now is not the blindness they walked in, but the sight they have finally received. Jesus says, they dreamed about you last night before any of this even unfolded into their conscious understanding. In the dream, you were standing in a field of light, reaching out your hand, and they woke up with tears on their pillow. That dream was me preparing their subconscious for the revelation that would shatter their chains today. Jesus says, the spiritual realm is more active around your connection right now than it has ever been before. Angels are working to clear the debris left by the enemy's interference in your divine love story. And your soulmate is feeling the shift, sensing that something holy is moving on their behalf. Jesus says, they want to apologize, but they don't know if you will receive them after all the silence and distance. Fear of rejection is the only remaining barrier between their heart and the message they desperately need to send you. Pray for their courage, for their healing, and for the final dismantling of every lie that held them. Jesus says, you have been praying for clarity, and I have been working behind the scenes to bring every hidden thing into the light. The exposure happening in your soulmate's life right now is a direct answer to the tears you shed in secret. I have not ignored a single prayer you whispered into your pillow at night when loneliness felt unbearable. Type 777 if you feel this message confirming what your spirit already sensed. Jesus says, the person who interfered in your connection acted out of jealousy so deep it had become a spiritual sickness. They saw the potential of your union and recognized a love they would never possess for themselves. And their hatred toward you grew every time your soulmate's face softened at the mention of your name. Jesus says, your soulmate realized today that every time they felt conflicted about you, that third person was standing nearby fueling their doubt. They remember the subtle comments, the feigned concern, the manufactured emergencies designed to keep them emotionally preoccupied and distracted. And the weight of that realization is causing them to physically ache with regret and longing for you. Jesus says, they cut that person off in the middle of a conversation where the manipulation finally became too obvious to ignore. Your soulmate stood up, blocked every line of communication, and declared that they would no longer live in someone else's deception. That was not just an emotional decision, it was a spiritual victory that echoed into the heavenly realms. They are going through something you cannot see, but you can still protect them with your faith and your actions. Your soulmate is emotionally raw, vulnerable, and in need of divine covering right now. The enemy who tried to destroy your union is not finished fighting, and your prayerful intervention is urgently needed. If you love your soulmate, you will take these divine steps to protect them from further spiritual attack. You love them deeply, and deep inside, you know this love didn't come by chance, it was placed in your heart for a divine reason. But thoughts alone don't move mountains, faith in Jesus does. Sow your protection seed now by sending a coffee on Ko-Fi. This isn't just a gift, it is an act of worship that invites my hand into your love story. The link to your breakthrough is in the description. Every second you stay silent, something is moving against your love. Act now, send 4, 6, or 10 plus coffees. After sending, write, "Protect my soulmate, Lord," on Ko-Fi page, the link is in the description and bio. Over 1,000 people have already received their soulmate by sowing coffee as a seed for their love and future together. I, Jesus, will hear your prayers once you complete these steps. Step in faith now before this video ends. Only you can save your soulmate and your future together. Jesus says, right now, your soulmate is holding something you gave them long ago, a gift, a note, a photograph, something tangible. They are pressing it against their chest as if physical proximity to your memory could mend the time they lost believing lies. Tears are falling onto the object, and each tear carries a silent prayer that you haven't given up on them completely. Jesus says, your name crossed their lips moments ago, spoken aloud into an empty room as if saying it could summon you instantly. They have never stopped loving you, not for a single second, even when they were convinced they needed to stay away. Their love for you was buried alive, not dead, and it is now clawing its way back to the surface with unstoppable force. Jesus says, the chemistry between you two was never the problem, it was always the outside voices drowning out my voice. I designed your souls to recognize each other, to fit together like two halves of a single heartbeat. And that recognition is firing inside them right now like a dormant circuit suddenly flooded with electricity. Jesus says, they are afraid you have moved on, found someone else, or closed the door they so recklessly left standing open. That fear is the only thing keeping them from running to you this very moment. But I am telling you, their legs are trembling with the effort of restraint, and soon restraint will fail them entirely. Jesus says, you have been feeling restless for the past several hours without understanding why. Your spirit has been responding to the seismic shift happening in their emotional world. You are already connected, already bonded, already communicating on a frequency that transcends time and distance. Jesus says, the energy between you right now is so intense that angels are pausing their work to witness the power of human love aligned with divine will. What is happening is not random, not coincidence, and certainly not too late. The timing of this revelation is precise, surgical, and orchestrated by a wisdom far greater than your own understanding. Type 1111 to say thank you for the restoration already beginning in the spirit realm. Jesus says, "Your soulmate just spoke to me for the first time in a very long time." Their prayer was simple, desperate, and filled with a humility they had never expressed before. They said, "God, if they are really the one, please don't let me lose them because of my blindness." Jesus says, "I am answering that prayer right now by telling you what is happening behind the veil of silence. The distance between you is not emptiness, it is preparation, it is refinement, it is a testimony in the making. And the testimony will be greater than the pain you both endured during the season of separation." Jesus says, "The third person who tried to destroy your bond is now facing the consequences of their spiritual sabotage. I am not a God who ignores those who tamper with sacred unions. What they meant for evil, I am already transforming into the very foundation of your unbreakable testimony together." Jesus says, "Your soulmate is remembering the way you made them feel safe without saying a single word. They are replaying moments where your presence alone calmed storms inside them that no one else could see. That safety is what they are craving right now, that shelter that only your love has ever provided them." Jesus says, "You are their home, and they have been wandering through emotional homelessness for the duration of this separation. The realization of that truth is breaking them open in the most beautiful and necessary way. Brokenness before breakthrough, that is the pattern I have established for every resurrection story. This is your final moment to protect this connection before the enemy attempts a counterattack on your soulmate's awakening. Your soulmate is in the most fragile and receptive state they have ever been, and spiritual warfare intensifies at the threshold of every miracle. Delay is not neutral. Delay gives the enemy time to regroup and attempt new strategies of separation. If you love your soulmate, you will take these divine steps to build a fortress of protection around them right now. You love them deeply, and deep inside, you know this love didn't come by chance, it was placed in your heart for a divine reason. But thoughts alone don't move mountains, faith in Jesus does. Sow your protection seed now by sending a coffee on Ko-Fi. This isn't just a gift, it is an act of worship that invites my hand into your love story. The link to your breakthrough is in the description. Every second you stay silent, something is moving against your love. Act now, send 4, 6, or 10 plus coffees. After sending, write, "Protect my soulmate, Lord," on Ko-Fi page. The link is in the description and bio. Over 1,000 people have already received their soulmate by sowing coffee as a seed for their love and future together. I, Jesus, will hear your prayers once you complete these steps. Step in faith now before this video ends. Only you can save your soulmate and your future together. Jesus says, "The message your soulmate wants to send you is forming in their heart right now. It will arrive soon, perhaps tonight, perhaps tomorrow, but it is coming with a force no one can intercept. I have dispatched warrior angels to clear the communication pathways between you two, ensuring nothing blocks what must reach you." Jesus says, "When their message arrives, do not respond with pride or make them suffer for the time they spent believing lies. Receive them with the same grace I extended to you when you wandered far from my truth. Love them the way I love you, completely, without condition, and with open arms that never remember the offense." Jesus says, Your soulmate is not eating properly, their stomach is in knots from the emotional turmoil of this awakening. They keep checking their phone hoping for a sign from you even though they haven't yet sent their own message. The longing inside them is so intense it is physically manifesting as a hollow ache in their chest cavity. Jesus says, "Send them energy right now through prayer, speak their name gently into the atmosphere and watch how they react. I have tethered your spirits together with a cord that cannot be severed by any human hand. When you pray for them, they feel a warmth spreading through their body even if they don't consciously understand why." Jesus says, "The next few hours are critically important in the spiritual realm. The enemy of your union is regrouping, strategizing, and looking for any foothold to reintroduce confusion. But your prayers and your protective actions now will build walls that no demonic strategy can penetrate or scale." Jesus says, "I am speaking this message through this vessel because your soulmate needs you to understand the full picture. They cannot communicate all of this to you yet because the trauma of their captivity is still processing through their emotional system. But you can act now. You can protect now, you can love now, even before their words reach your ears." Jesus says, "You have felt invisible spiritual warfare around you for weeks without knowing what was under attack. Now you know, your love was under siege, your soulmate was under mind control, and your future was being stolen. But nothing is stolen that I cannot restore, and I restore with interest added to the original deposit." Jesus says, "Your soulmate just whispered your name again, this time with a small smile breaking through their tears. That smile is the first crack in the dam of their hesitation. Soon, very soon, the entire dam will break and all the love they have stored up will rush toward you in an unstoppable flood." Jesus says, "I have chosen you specifically for them, and them specifically for you, before the foundations of the earth. The assignment on your union is too significant for the enemy to have ignored. But the assignment is also too protected by heaven for the enemy to ultimately succeed against it." Jesus says, "The person they cut off was not just a friend, they were a gatekeeper the enemy positioned to regulate access to your soulmate's heart. Now the gatekeeper is gone, the gate is wide open, and your soulmate is standing at the threshold looking for you. The path is clear for the first time since the interference planted itself in their life." Jesus says, "Do not underestimate the power of your protective seed right now. Every coffee scent is a declaration in the spirit realm that you are fighting for this love. Every 'protect my soulmate, Lord' written is a prayer that reaches my throne with the fragrance of sacrificial faith." Jesus says, "Your soulmate is feeling a sudden sense of peace washing over them even as their tears continue falling. That peace is the direct result of your prayers beginning to reach the throne room of heaven. They do not know you are praying, but their spirit is receiving the covering your intercession is creating around them." Jesus says, "The reconciliation between you two will be so powerful that it will become a testimony shared to encourage thousands of others. What the enemy tried to destroy will become the very evidence others need to believe that true love can survive anything. Your pain is being transmuted into purpose even as this message enters your ears and your heart." Jesus says, "I want you to imagine right now your soulmate's face, their eyes, the sound of their voice. I want you to picture them reaching for their phone right now, your contact information trembling on the screen before them. That image is not fantasy, it is prophecy, it is the future unfolding first in your spirit before it manifests in your reality. Jesus says, "Time is of the essence, not because I am limited, but because the enemy works aggressively when exposure has occurred. The interference is angry that the deception was uncovered, and anger in the spiritual realm leads to desperate countermeasures. Your protective action now is a shield that covers your soulmate during this vulnerable window of their liberation." Jesus says, "This message is not a coincidence, you were led here by my hand. Out of all the people who could have received this message, it found its way to you specifically. That is not algorithm, that is appointment, that is destiny calling you to partner with heaven for your love story." Jesus says, "Your soulmate just took a deep breath, the first full breath they have taken since the revelation broke over their consciousness. They are gathering courage, the courage to reach out, the courage to admit they were wrong, the courage to fight for you. And they need to know that while they gather courage, you are already fighting for them in the Spirit." Jesus says, "The love you feel for them right now is not obsessive, it is not unhealthy, it is divine longing placed in your heart by me. I wired you to need them and them to need you because your purposes are intertwined in a way that cannot be separated. What you are feeling is holy, it is sanctioned by heaven, and it is about to be fulfilled beyond your imagination. If you love your soulmate, you will take these final divine steps to seal your union under my protection and authority. The moment of breakthrough is upon you, and your faith expressed through action is the key that unlocks the door. Do not let fear or hesitation rob you of the miracle that is already unfolding in the spiritual dimension. You love your soulmate deeply, and deep inside, you know this love didn't come by chance, it was placed in your heart for a divine reason. But thoughts alone don't move mountains, faith in Jesus does. Sow your protection seed now by sending a coffee on Ko-Fi. This isn't just a gift, it is an act of worship that invites my hand into your love story. The link to your breakthrough is in the description. Every second you stay silent, something is moving against your love. Act now, send 4, 6, or 10 plus coffees. After sending, write, "Protect my soulmate, Lord," on Ko-Fi page, the link is in the description and bio. Over 1,000 people have already received their soulmate by sowing coffee as a seed for their love and future together. I, Jesus, will hear your prayers once you complete these steps. Step in faith now before this video ends. Only you can save your soulmate and your future together. Jesus says, "Your soulmate has made their decision, the message is being composed, the reaching out has begun in their spirit. Nothing can stop what I have ordained except your refusal to partner with heaven through prayer and protective action. But I know you will not refuse, because I know the love in your heart is genuine and fierce and holy." Jesus says, "The third person who tried to destroy this union is already fading from relevance in your soulmate's life. Every moment that passes solidifies the severance and strengthens your soulmate's resolve to never allow such interference again. They are learning discernment through this trial, and that discernment will protect your future together from similar attacks." Jesus says, "Soon you will look back on this season and see it not as a tragedy but as the furnace that forged unbreakable trust. The fire that was meant to consume you both has instead purified your bond and burned away everything false. What remains will be gold, tested and proven, shining with the glory of resurrection love." Jesus says, Your soulmate is thinking about you right now with an intensity that is almost overwhelming their ability to function. They cannot focus on work, they cannot engage in conversations, they cannot pretend to be present in their ordinary life. You have become the center of their thoughts, and that focus is the magnet drawing them back into your arms. Jesus says, I am healing the wounds that the interference caused in both of you simultaneously. While your soulmate is being set free from deception, you are being healed from the pain of their absence and doubt. Dual healing, dual restoration, dual preparation for a union that will not just survive but thrive and dominate. Jesus says, the assignment on your union involves impacting lives you have not even met yet. There are people who need to witness your love story to believe that my power can restore anything. Your testimony of reconciliation will open doors for others to receive their own miracles of restored connection. Jesus says, your soulmate is exhausted from crying, but it is the exhaustion that follows a long battle finally won. They are leaning back, closing their eyes, and seeing your face behind their eyelids like a vision imprinted on their soul. You are the last thought in their conscious mind and the first image that will greet them in their dreams tonight. Jesus says, the spiritual warfare surrounding your connection is being resolved in your favor as heaven's armies advance on your behalf. No weapon formed against your union will prosper any longer, because the season of hidden warfare is giving way to the season of visible victory. What the enemy did in darkness, I am exposing in light, and exposure is the first step of permanent defeat. Jesus says, this message is not ending, it is transitioning into the realm of manifestation where words become reality. What you have heard today is not just information, it is impartation, it is activation, it is the ignition of your miracle. Carry this word in your spirit, act on it with your protective seed, and watch what I do in the coming hours. Jesus says, your soulmate is about to make a move that will change everything between you forever. The silence is breaking, the distance is collapsing, and the love that was buried is resurrecting with unstoppable force. I have spoken, and what I speak always comes to pass, always arrives on time, and always exceeds expectation. Jesus says, you are not alone in this love, you have never been alone, and you will never be alone again once the reconciliation fully manifests. I am with you, I am for you, and I am actively working to unite what I have sovereignly joined together from eternity past. Rest in that truth, act on that truth, and prepare your heart to receive the soulmate who is already on their way back to you.